Ladies, gentlemen, NBs, this is the ESE Fantasy Podcast, your daily escape from the hum, the drum, the bullshit of your daily life. We're back with some more August awesomeness? I don't know, August insanity, where we're getting you guys some content every single day this month. And with that will be not just stuff that we put in the can, it'll be live episodes like today, where we literally sat down because we recorded something today, because we saw something today, and that was a film that we've been anticipating for quite some time. Probably outside of Sinners, our most anticipated horror movie of the year, I would say. Would you say that's probably fair?
Oh, it was up there. Yeah.
It was because like we have a lot of directors that we're looking forward to their next movie. Mm-hmm. However, I wouldn't say that all of them are like immediately coming out. So like, you know, like we know of the theory of some projects, I guess is a good way to put it. Let me see. I think my mic might be screwed up. Anyway, sorry about that. It was like fucking really coming in hot. Anyway, sorry about that. Anyway, but yeah, no. So I like to yell into my mic, so sometimes it'll come in a little hot. Sorry about that, y'all. It'll all balance out in the recording. But anyway, yeah, we don't have necessarily the next movie coming out from a lot of those directors. Like, you know, I can't think of all their names, but like the Smile director and blah, 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 and all these different guys. You know what I mean? Like, we know they all have projects in the works, but we just don't know what it is necessarily, you know? I think the only one that we really know is Ari. We think we have an idea what he's doing, right? But like, I can't think of a lot that we know for sure what their next project is besides Eggers with Werewolf, right? So, you know, like, I'm trying to think. There's a couple we know, but like a
lot of them aren't named. That's the thing.
Yeah, we just know they're doing project, and we might have like a vague detail. But that's
like Jordan
thing
Peele's movie next year. No one has any idea what it is,
and that's a good thing, by the way. So, I think it's probably a good thing we don't know, because if we, you know, it leaves us not able to speculate as much. And yeah. Anyway, but that being said, yeah, I mean, we'll actually get into the movie. We're talking about the movie Weapons today. And yeah, I mean, this is Zach CREGGER directed, and we didn't do a review of Barbarian because I think I just saw it at the beginning of this year, right, or something like that. So but you'd seen it before that. It's just, you know, I've been doing my horror catch up over the last couple of years. You know, I kind of dipped out on horror movies for a while because I got used to them either all being the same and being kind of mid, or just wasn't really that into a lot of the premises of a lot of the new ones that came out. Which is funny because a lot of the ones I thought looked lame turn out to be some of people's favorites. Like, for example, It Follows. Like, there's the name It Follows. I was like, wow, that reminds me of every like horror movie I saw on the shelf at the video store that was like knives with a wife's wife with a knife or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you know, like, I know people are like, wasn't that like some random like fucking true crime? No, that was Wives with Knives. Trust me, my parents watched the shit out of that shit. So trust me, I'm not just misremembering. There was definitely shit like that on the shelf where the image on the box of the video would literally just be like a butcher knife with like fake blood on it, you know, like, and it's like, but anyway, you know, so I assumed a lot of those, you know, really weirdly just basically named horror movies are kind of just that kind of crap that got spit out for a long time. So that's why I've kind of really been enjoying this sort of what it feels like is like almost like, I don't know if Renaissance is the right word, as the word I used in my review on Letterboxd, but I do think there is a renaissance in horror over the last probably decade, where now it seems like new directors are coming into the genre that take it a little bit more seriously. They grew up as the people that watched all the crappier horror movies, necessarily, if you want to call them that, you know, or the horror movies that maybe just didn't get as much love as they should have. And they respect the origins and the art of what they were trying to do in some of those older films and some of the ones that stood out throughout the years. And there really truly are horror fans, I think, not that there weren't before, but I just feel like, you know, it was difficult for those people to get their kinds of movies that they wanted to make in the genre made. And I don't know what it is. Like, I guess this is before I, you know, jump over into your overall thoughts, Charlie. An interesting question, I think, to ask nowadays is, what is it do you think that has changed in the industry? I don't think it's the people. I think there were always people in the industry that loved this subgenre because they kept making movies in it, right? Even if it wasn't the best movies ever. But like, what do you think? The studios are just more trusting now? Like, what is there something to that? Because you know,
you can kind of pinpoint the exact moment it happened, and it's a trigger word for a lot of people. So lock in. But it's the idea of it. It's from 2014 to like 2019. Kind of the horror genre completely changed to, quote, elevated horror is what people were calling it at the time. No more just silly slashers, yada yada yada. And it was, people were really buying into it. and you were getting these horror movies like Get Out, like It Follows, like oh my god, Hereditary. It was like Hudson was on the brand. I'm like, that's not it. You were getting all of these quote elevated horror movies, and it just kind of completely shifted the genre, and it brought more people in. It changed the genre in a lot of people's eyes, because there are people that don't like the slashers. They don't like just the nun stuff, the ghouls, all of it. So it just kind of,
when done well, that stuff can really land. But for me, I've always enjoyed a really, really solid story and really unsettling imagery way more. That resonates and sticks with me a lot longer than something like even like The Substance, which has a lot of really gross out moments in it. But the grossness, it set now that movie is unique in its grossness, so that did sit with me. But not every movie can be The Substance, right? So
yeah, and it's kind of nice. So that is a really big beginning, and then just the comebacks to slashers. Ty West's trilogy of X, Pearl, and then Maxine, right? Those were just completely turning out bangers. The return to Scream, people started really loving the new Scream movies again. So yeah, I mean, you have the brilliant underground movies like Terrifier that kind of get your hardcore horror fans to just root for, because that thing's quite literally made for pocket change. So it's pretty cool. And yeah, it's been an evolution, and we're getting writers and directors now, and this will tie into the review, but that have comedy backgrounds, and they've figured out the key to making this shit click with more than just the traditional quote horror audience. A lot of these directors that we talk about have comedy backgrounds, and you can feel it within the films, because they know that blend, when done properly, you can't beat it. You genuinely can't beat it for an audience experience. And like we always talk about, what do people go to the theaters for? To have an experience with the movie. So
all right, I'm gonna hit you with a theory here, because and this is so kind of perfectly fucking timed for me to have this thought process right now. So here's my theory before I get into my actual overall thoughts, because I didn't really talk about the movie, so I'll actually talk about it a little bit, without saying anything. But I just rewatched Inglourious Bastards last night before I went to bed. And as you know, Charlie, and people who listen to the show, I'm a massive Tarantino fan. And one thing that we both know that Tarantino is a master of building tension, and of just stretching it to an incredulous level, to the point where it snaps, and it's somehow still, it's like Mr. Fantastic. It just keeps stretching, you know what I mean? And never runs out of stretchy, you know what I mean? So, and I think what the elevated horror genre has done, I think there was always sort of like this sort of seesaw battle constantly with because I do feel like that when we talk about campy or horror movies, I do feel like there's always been a need to strike a balance of horror with a little bit of comedy or something along those lines in there. And I think for a lot of people, when it's not done well, it can come off as corny, it can come off as not well executed, so on and so forth. And so I think what maybe the elevated horror directors realize is that if they do that Tarantino-esque thing, that sort of old school style of directing, where you keep stretching that sort of, you use the writing and you use the visual language to sort of stretch that tension. And then with those comedic things, when they actually land properly, when they're placed properly at the right moment, after you've just had those long tense sequences, let me tell you, there are sequences in this movie that are just long uncuts, where you're just in the moment and you are as viscerally afraid as the character you're seeing on the screen. And I think they realize that you can use that almost as a bailout, and it keeps the stretch, but it's not like the tension that you were feeling in those earlier scenes just goes away. It's just sort of put on the back burner for a little bit. Your brain is locking onto different things. You're emotionally attaching to these characters a little bit more than if they were just some random group of teens that were at a summer camp or something, you grow and you build up with these characters, because a lot of times when those funny things happen, it's not just funny for you, the audience. It's actually something that makes them laugh in the moment, or makes them go, okay, it takes a little bit of that tension out of the scene, I don't know. Maybe it's just something that I'm just yapping a little bit here, but I do think there is something to that. I do think there maybe is a bit of technique to that to an extent. And maybe I'm just an idiot that just, assumes things like this, because I've never actually written a movie or anything, but I don't know. This is just,
but you can interpret the numbers because some horror movies are getting more of a casual audience. That's just a fact. So, and when you're trying to find reasons why, I mean, you could throw 1,000 things at the fucking, at the wall. some of them will stick. So
100%. And even if there's not like an active effort of that, I do think that just in general, when you're trying to really make it a tense sequence in a horror movie, that is a string, quote unquote, you are pulling, right? So, I guess I'll just talk about the way I felt throughout this movie before I toss it over to you, Charlie, because it was a lot of different feelings. The opening sequence, or I guess it's not really the opening sequence, but the opening, I'll just call it the musical number, where we'll talk about what it actually is in a second when we get into it. But like,
it's beat for beat the dialogue from the trailer. So
what I'm talking about is what happens right after that with the music. And when that sequence kicks off, after we get the explanation of what happened and we see the scene of it happening, it is one of the most unsettling images I think I've seen. Just all the different angles and shots and different cross angles. And then we eventually come back to that later, and it's even creepier. But just the first version of it with the music playing and you knowing exactly what's happening, and it just allows your brain to just go in a million directions about what's going on and what it means and what it's going to have, what impact it has. And yeah, so I guess that's all I really want to say about that, because I was like on the edge of spoiling just talking about that. So I'll toss it over to you, and I'll get your thoughts really quickly. I was feeling unsettled, grossed out, all kinds of different things. I also need to fix my headphones because I keep hearing
because like Barbarian and like Longlegs, you can't really talk about this movie without talking into spoilers. So it's not exactly the easiest to give in overall thoughts. So. But I agree with you. I mean, look, this movie, it has multiple. The way the story is structured is fucking awesome. I got some,
it's not really a spoiler to say it's done in chapters. I won't say what the chapters are.
I was going to relate it to Strange Darling last year. It's a different kind of take on that. And
it's even like Strange Darling in the way that time isn't always clear, and when you jump between different chapters too, like you don't always know where you are in the story for sure.
And it's kind of a different interpretation of what he did with Barbarian. So, because he did the multiple thing in Barbarian too. And beyond a certain point, everything's a spoiler when you start talking about a certain character or anything like that. So, yeah. No, it's just, this movie is so it's so well written that is going to be its stamp from here on out. I mean, the fact that we go through all of the threads that we do in this movie and it feels satisfying, that's a testament to its own ability right there. I mean, that was fucking great.
Okay, so I'll give you a perfect thing. So Freaky Tales did a similar thing where you go in chapters, right?
Correct.
By chapter 4 of Freaky Tales, I'm like, are we really doing a fourth chapter? I thought 3 was it. You know what I mean? But okay, fine. I'm locked in at that point. I looked at the time left of the movie. I was like, all right, it'll wrap up quickly. Whatever. You know what I mean? At no point at any chapter, every time a new chapter came up, I was like, there's more?
Freaky Tales is actually a good shot because it all leads to one, which ends up being the final. So it's kind of Freaky Tales is very similar. Your main guy in the background, your main, character is not really there until probably God knows how long into the movie. So
Freaky Tales say, and this is not that big of a spoiler if you've seen Freaky Tales, it does kind of work out the same way it does with Freaky Tales, except that the guy is not, spoiler warning for Freaky Tales, is not like the hero at the end. That's all I'm going to say,
Well, you don't have to worry about that because no one saw Freaky Tales. That's what I was going to say is, you don't have to worry about people comparing this to Freaky Tales because no one saw it. It just went completely under the radar from everyone. So everyone is going out of their way to compare it to Longlegs. Now, let's take this as a moment.
Well, that makes me want to go watch Longlegs like right now.
Yeah. So I want to jump into the actual portion of the movie now. So again, we both give this glaring thumbs up. Definitely watch this. Pause the podcast and come back. All right. I promise you, this is going to be worth talking about. Okay. So now we are in the open water, if you will. Something that people keep saying about this movie, and I want to get into this right now. For starters, the fucking assholes posting Gladys on Thursday, go fuck yourself. That was fucking hidden. That was not meant to be everywhere. Weapons put one still of her, and people have been using that as an avenue to be like, oh, I'm building an army of characters. And as soon as you see one picture of Gladys, I'm like, okay, well, now we know where this is going. People are fucking assholes about that. Don't engage in that kind of shit if you guys do. my own fault for fucking dipping away from blue sky. But long legs. A lot of people say this is long legs that stuck the landing. So I just wanted to get that out of the way because that seems to be the most popular thing everyone's saying.
Is it like a similar premise in that movie or something? Like
they go supernatural with it in essence, and did they stick the landing? I don't know. It's horror. It's to me,
horror endings are brutal. I will say this movie's ending,
sense.
I think, does stick the landing in this one for me.
I
know
think
some people are thinking it doesn't, but
I think this sticks the landing as much as long legs. I think they gave us what it was. They explained the premise, and you're left with the world after, right? It's that simple. Now, Zach knew he had to kind of over-explain it for certain people because he didn't want to deal with that. So that's why he goes into multiple layers, and we even get the dialogue at the end. So he knew that, which I think was smart of him to do. Because I was so sick of everyone saying, well, what the fuck was the point of long legs? Dude, you go to the movie to have fun. What do you mean?
I mean, when we dig a little deeper into, like, I think some of the, I mean, I don't want to say allegory, because whenever you say that there's an allegory for something, like, if that wasn't intended by the creator, then you've just created this whole fucking scenario that has, you know what I mean? You've implied all this negative shit that was never meant. But I will do a little bit of that here in a bit, because I think you're going to know the glaring one that was literally in the fucking sky in the middle of the movie, but whatever, that's neither here nor there, you know? But we'll get to that one. Yeah. But there's also another much deeper, much darker one, I think, that is just there the entire time. And it is not subtle at all. But I think we will definitely have to discuss it. And I will warn everybody now, trigger as fuck warning. It's going to get uncomfortable in this conversation, but it is worth having because it's the conversation the movie's having with you. But I don't want to get into that right away because I want everything to have its own time. But continue. Yeah. I just wanted to say.
But I wanted to touch on that at the beginning because I think people posting pictures of Gladys is no different.
That's why I'm bringing that up now because Gladys is tied into what that stuff I'm talking about.
It's no different than posting the fucking pictures of Nicolas Cage and long legs. And people were fucking doing that the first weekend. And it just dumbles down to the spoiler culture we live in.
That's so crazy. That spoilers got so far. I didn't even know that it was a spoiler who was in that movie. I just knew he was in that movie.
Exactly.
So that
he was hidden. Me. He was never supposed to be seen.
He was never supposed to be seen, and it reached me as a person who had nothing to. So
it's
basically,
like showing the monster in Barbarian, for example. Like that's what showing Gladys is. That's what showing Nicolas Cage is. You don't show that. They purposely hide that. Companion.
Tweaking, by the way. Why did I not know there was one kid that didn't go missing? Did they also hide that?
They hid that. Yes, they hid that.
Okay, they did hide that. I thought that was hidden because I remember seeing that empty seat and I thought that was on purpose. And I thought, oh, what a brilliant choice. You know what I mean? But yeah. Anyway, sorry. Continue. I don't mean to. Step
I wanted to get into some of the really fun moments from the audience here and just from myself. Josh Brolin's dream sequence. Let me get character names here. So Josh Brolin played Archer.
What
that dream sequence into the end when you get the big fucking scare, and then he just wakes up. And he's like, "What the fuck?" That is what person next to me went,
"Yeah."
That is comedy gold. When they showed Gladys at the end of that dream sequence, there was a woman fucking of the row behind me that legit screamed.
I don't need a sequel to this movie, but I want Gladys to show up as like a witch or whatever the fuck she's supposed to be in other shit, just fucking tormenting other fucking places in America, you know? Because that's what you do with this. You don't make weapons. You don't make weapons too. Weapons harder. The kids are still weapons. Like no, Gladys is reborn in another city as a fucking demon, and she takes it and tries to do it again with a different method or something. You know what I mean? Like that's what you do. You know what I mean?
I can't wait to see how many people are dressed up as Gladys for Halloween.
That's going to be so great because, dude, so many people. No offense to people, so many people could totally pull that off, and I'm not saying that they look because Gladys isn't even ugly. It's just the way they paint up her face in this. You know what I mean? Like it's straight up.
It's that over the top. You know, you can just get that wig, do the crazy makeup.
I'll say right now, I've definitely seen some clown girls on Twitter that definitely be looking like that. I'm just saying.
Yep. Okay, I wrote car door open, and it's Alex's parents. So it's when. Julia Garner, who plays Justine Gandy, is asleep. And the car door opens. And it's the door we don't see. Oh my God. That was fucking brilliant. So we see, it's I believe, now we know it, I believe it's Alex's mother. And she's under the sequence and she goes and clips the hair, right?
By the way, I love that neither of them, I don't think, other than the one sequence where his dad picks him up from school, I don't think they say, like, hardly, other than, like, the two sequences where they're able to speak. which is like two scenes in the movie pretty much. Like other than when they're pretty much always under the spell, and or whatever it is. I just thought that was brilliant because it added to the creep factor so much.
It did.
You never get to. It's almost like they're because they're so close to the family related. They're so close. They just immediately got swallowed by this whatever it is. You know, like.
So this car door opening, that's going to be an iconic moment because it's the tension. It takes like 40 seconds to get to that moment when she opens the door. But when she does, your gut reaction is, oh my God, this bitch didn't lock the doors. And you're deep enough
into the movie, you realize she could die and this movie still goes on. You know what I mean?
Yes, 100%. So that was a great moment. There's a woman deep in the crowd that she goes, fuck no. I was like, yeah.
How cool is that? We're because part of you does question this girl a little bit. Why are the kids all gone? Blah blah blah. You're on the dad side a little bit. Like you're not completely against you, but you're rooted in her perspective, so you don't want her to die. That's so brilliant. That's great storytelling.
Is it fair to say her chapter definitely tries to gear her up as the protagonist?
I think I would say that for every chapter. I think you could almost make the argument for every chapter being like they're all written in a way, and I bet this is intentional, where they are like they're all like they are the beginning, middle, and end, and they all wrap, but they all then weave together brilliantly. You know what I mean? Like
what a great year she's having, by the way, between this Fantastic Four and then she was applauded for the January movie Wolfman. She got applauded for her performance.
Look, see if she's picking them like this year. You know?
Yeah, good year for her. Two more sequences here. The fork and face.
Fuck. Did they show that in a trailer at some point? I think they did, right?
Yes, they did. They showed the mom doing it.
And that I was expecting to be, but then when you actually see it in the movie, fuck.
Exactly.
You know?
That's because that just adds to the creep factor of the trailer. Just like seeing Benedict Wong's face, in blood in the trailer. It doesn't throw you off.
Yeah, I didn't remember seeing that, but then when I saw
that can always be a
fully
dream
up in the camera, I was like, oh, I do remember that. But like, it's still, when you actually see it fully in the screen, because they get some really close-up shots on his face. Like, it's all, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so visceral, and with the music and everything. Oh, by the way, shout out the fucking scoring of this movie. Holy shit. I don't know who did the scoring, but god damn.
Yes, the score was very good. It reminded me a little bit of Bodies in that kind of, in some of the vibe they did with it. And then the ending sequence is straight up, it's a fucking comedy. And it is brilliant. From the moment where it snapped and, the witchcraft is snapped. We'll just say,
the kids, what is the kid's name? I'm sorry.
Alex.
I can't. Alex reverses the spell, essentially, or at least turns the spell to his own will and takes control of the kids and turns them into Murder Gladys.
That is straight up comedy. Duke, my audience was fucking howling. It was like we were watching The Naked Gun in there.
A fucking thing in this movie. I was so mad.
By the way, there was like 50 people in a small theater. I couldn't believe it.
It was pretty full. I would say all the seats were pretty much full
how many
in my
people
section.
were there.
But like, dude, nobody was reacting to shit. I was so disappointed with them.
I wrote on Letterboxd, I was like, even in my shitty little theater, this thing filled up. Because my theater, if you guys don't know this, if this is your first time watching our review, it is entirely walk-ups. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but no one in this area knows what the phone is, apparently, when it comes to buying tickets online. So you never have any idea how many people are going to be in there. Like, you never do. So I get in there, Duke, and I'm like, am I in the right fucking spot? Because for starters, I knew I was going to go. I had to take a piss right after. I was just like, oh my God. So that was kind of nuts. But this ending sequence, it had people howling. I'm going to go as far as to say, just as loud as the thermal vision shit in The Naked Gun with this crowd. They were losing their minds in there. And I was too, because I was like, man, I was like, am I the only person giggling at a lot of the shit going on? Because a lot of the...
Oh, no, this was an intentionally funny movie. That was something they said going in. That's part of the charm of this movie and Barbarian, is they both have actually funny moments. That's why this guy's so
fucking good. But I wanted to hit on some of those sequences, because I just thought they really stuck out. But, I mean, that ending sequence, the chase, we can call it the chase, if you will, because everyone knows what we're talking about, where you just... I mean, the one shot I'm focused on is when the girl finally gets her, and it's that tracking shot, and we are just following this girl for like 20 seconds, and you're running with her, and it doesn't break once, and she fucking tackles her. I'm like, Zach Krieger is a fucking genius.
I'm gonna say some insane shit right now, and it's probably not gonna travel. I hope it does though, because I really hope this was intended by the director. Throughout this entire fucking movie, there are visual and like sort of different like I'll go as far as to say certainly visually, but like definitely the way the shots and stuff carry. So let me give you an example. That what you were just talking about, the chase sequence. You know what it
Yes.
reminded me? It reminded me of the beginning of the Dawn of the Dead movie that was written by James Gunn in the early 2000s, where you have
Okay.
that sequence where they're breaking out of the house and being chased by zombies and stuff like that, and sort of the visceral, not cutting away the camera, just constantly following and not like fast cut action like a lot of horror movies tend to end up being. And
They
let
get
me tell
very
you,
choppy. We saw one this year.
100%. And so like, anyway, so yeah, anyway, that being said, there's references to that the sequence leading up to that before the snap when Alex is fumbling with the spell trying to get everything working together and he's hiding in the bathroom. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm pretty sure everybody in their fucking cousin saw the reference he was making there. That is straight up a reference to The Shining, the way the fucking door was being broken in by his parents.
Absolutely, yep.
Especially the way his mom sticks her face through the door.
Oh my god! In that scene when Josh Brolin is just manhandling fucking
the
what's the
druggy
actor's
dude or
name?
whatever,
Austin
James.
something. Okay, so yeah, he played James, Austin Abrams, and he is just getting fucking manhandled.
Oh, dude,
by
he just
Josh
got chucked
Brolin.
around. I don't know how much of that was practical. And
That's what I'm saying.
But
This was a straight up comedy sequence.
Yes.
The third act is a comedy.
Yes. He keeps throwing him around, and he's like, "Bro, are you
He
done?"
was repeatedly knocking this fucking guy out, like just over and over, beating the shit out of him. I'm like, this is brilliant. But yeah, I mean, good call with The Shining. I agree.
Yeah, I feel like there was a ton of referential stuff like that. The beginning sequence, I want to go back to that, dude. Okay, so that beginning sequence with the music, with all the kids running out of the houses, is one of the most unsettling things I've ever seen sitting in a movie theater. And I love that it's off rip. It gets you feeling uncomfortable right away. And this is, I think, the point where it's appropriate to bring up the kind of stuff that I was talking about. So we talked a ton leading into this movie about how there's a ton of overtones of, and this is, like I said, this is the uncomfortable part, of like potentially like mass shootings and stuff like that.
Correct.
And there's a blatant shot in this movie of a gun with a clock with the time the kids all left this, houses at the same time. That is not subtle. That is clearly and very much in the character of Archer. You have the character that is very much, and all the grieving parents, but the one we center on the most is Archer. And even in the way, what is our police officer's character's name again?
Paul Ehrenreich, another great year.
Oh, such a great role for him. But anyway, so both Paul's perspective as the police and Archer's perspective as the grieving parent are kind of reflective, I think, mostly of the sort of emotional aspect of what that would feel like, because all the sort of things that they're saying are very much what you would hear from the people when some tragic event like that would happen. It's very much they're kind of rooted in those perspectives in a lot of way. And one thing that I heard Josh Brolin say about his character was he's like, there's this moment like where I fully break down. And I do think that does happen for him, maybe in the dream sequence or something like that. But like, I was expecting him to like have this emotional scene at some point where he's actually like, maybe I just like blocked it out of my memory because so much was going on. But like, I was expecting, but he kind of, sort of shifts because his, plot of the part of the story goes on and then we go to a different part or whatever, and, then he kind of comes like, he sort of starts helping, Jesus Christ, Silver Surfer character. So I can't think of her fucking character's name. Justine. We have he starts helping Justine try to figure the things out because he realizes she's obviously not involved when she literally almost gets murdered in front of him. He's like, something's not right here. People don't just be murdering their teachers like that. What the hell, But anyway, and then I think that clearly there is so much being said about child sex stuff. There is clearly, I don't think I need to be really, I think I can be blunt here, Charlie. I think it's pretty fair for me to say that Gladys, I think, doesn't actually do anything to the kids in this movie, but I think that's the implication. Because like, okay, so there's something that the movie The Witch got a lot of shit for, right? Was that it kind of leaned into the stereotypes associated with witches in this time that it was set in, about them being targeting kids and using them, and like obviously there's the young male character in that movie who seems like something really bad happened to him that didn't require him to die, so so there's obviously a lot of history there, so you could apply that to her character and see why she would abduct a bunch of kids, right? Obviously she says directly in the movie it's because she wants to heal her ailment or whatever, but we don't actually see her directly do that. So what's the deal? So I'm connecting a dot there, right? Also, I think there's a blatant scene where, and I know it is the wife of the guy she fucked coming up to her and saying, "You fucked him," but because of when it happens in the movie, and you don't know who she directly is because you haven't seen her face yet, you don't for surely know that's not one of the parents saying that, But then, like, it hits you, okay, because you just had that sequence. And you're like, oh, immediately as soon as she's on the ground and she says, like, a dialogue, I'm like, oh, that's right. She had sex with this guy's wife, you know what I mean? Or this girl's wife, you know what I mean? Or it's husband. Jesus Christ, I know what I'm trying to say here. She had sex with Paul, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is Paul's wife, you know what I mean? But that's how brilliant this movie is, Charlie. For a moment, I wasn't sure, you know what I mean? Because of all the things that were said. And by the way, I'm not the only, I guarantee because of that sequence where they're all yelling at her in the crowd, there's at least one parent in there that's the thought in their mind, you know what I mean? That this teacher is doing something awful to our kids right now, so I just want to say that is clearly something that is being said, especially with how blank and how dark the looks on all the kids' faces are, especially after they go through and what they do at the end. And they're kind of just soulless, I don't know. Am I reading too deeply into stuff? Do you think I'm adding stuff where it shouldn't be? Or do you think that was something that was intentional in this movie, Charlie?
Well, intentional, you never really know. I mean, definitely the AR is put there and the way he's grieving on the bed, and he kind of feels like the parent that maybe would have some guns around, and that kid would get a hold of the gun, and that essence, and because you talked about did he have an emotional sequence, it was the one when he's talking to the Batman blanket. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that now it didn't go as into that, I think, as people might have thought it would have, because this is a supernatural movie. This is straight up supernatural.
I knew that was where we were going from the trailers, because as we got closer, I was seeing more shots of kids actually running. I was like, oh, I mean, if they're actually physically running, then there's there's not going to be a shot where we find out they were all dead in the school or something, because they're not in the school at any point where they were getting harmed. You know what I mean? They literally didn't show up to school. That part is actually true. We weren't sure how much was and to be fair, we were correct to assume that they were not marketing this movie exactly as what is going on in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Because they
just leave it a mystery. They don't give you any hints it's supernatural.
So we were right to not know.
Correct.
But we were also right that there were definitely overtones of that in this movie. The second part I added because the part that doesn't really if you don't have that, that's where it starts to fall apart for me with the Gladys character. Because I really just don't understand her motivation beyond that, because we don't actually see her achieve what she's trying to achieve. You know what I mean? And it seems like she had nothing stopping her. She had multiple days of control of all these children. You know what I mean? So whatever spell she was going to cast it to heal herself, to get young,
whatever she does, she can hypnotize people, and that they're under that severe hypnosis, and that's why I'm
calling her a witch until other proven otherwise.
I mean, that in that dialogue at the end, they strictly state that those kids were hypnotized, and that's why they added with some are even learning to speak again. So they were so fucked up that they couldn't speak at first, or possibly ever, right? So.
That's why I'm saying, okay, so that's why I mentioned to you before we started this that I think there are two movies going on at the same time. So I think the stuff that I mentioned, like the thing with the AR, right? And the thing that I mentioned that may be some dark stuff that maybe would have happened with some kids, I think that stuff is all not actually physically happening in the movie. I think
that's why it's like an allegory to those things
and stuff. And it's it's allegorical to those things, because like trauma like that happens to a child early in their life, or because it's just, even the way that the parents are taken over and they sort of just let things happen around Alec, you know what I mean? Or Alex, sorry. Is very much like how some situations like that, where somebody comes into their life and they're a toxic drain on the family. And there's all this imagery about parasites in the movie too. what
Correct.
is Gladys but a parasite on this family? You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
so, and I also think a parasitic plant that's being used for the spell. That's my suspicion. You know what I mean? Something that like eats other plants or something like that, or you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my suspicion that plant that she brings in with her is something specific. You know what I mean? It's not just nothing. That's not just a small thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Used for all the
whatever
spells.
she's able to take from that, she can formulate her craft of some sort. So, yeah, yeah. I mean, I thought every chapter was entertaining, and they all flowed pretty good. But I think going to Paul when we did in the movie was very, very smart, because I think we needed a little bit of a break from that just really dramatic segment we had with Archer. I think we needed a little bit of a lighthearted one, and Paul's was comedy. So it tied perfectly into that. I mean, when he knocks that motherfucker out and he realizes his dash cam's still on and he lets him go, and then he's like just kind of hoping the kid doesn't come back, and oh my God. Gets them both killed in the end, for fuck's sake. But, you know.
And like, there's like so many layers to that too, because he acts like when he's talking to when we hear him and Justine discuss the case briefly on their car ride, you know, before we go back to his perspective later, right? When we see him talk about the case, he acts like it's nothing, like we're solving it, we're doing our jobs, blah 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 blah. It would help if you didn't bother us about it, you know, type shit, right? He just does the standard thing. But when you see his reaction to everything that's going on, well, yeah, he got stuck by the guy, but most cops, as far as I understand it, in that scenario, that guy goes to jail anyway because he just assaulted a cop. You know what I mean? Like, because he just stuck a cop without and even though he knew the cop, he'd stick his hand and he'd get stuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, that he fucks up on multiple levels because he probably gets away with nothing. If he's just not an idiot in that moment and doesn't punch the guy, everything goes fine for him. You know what I mean? He just maybe potentially catches something, which sucks, but you know, that's if it happening in the line of duty, I assume he'd be taken care of, right? So anyway, not that I'm trying to apply logic here, but you know, in reality, his reaction is because of how he's stressed he is because they just lost all these fucking kids, you know what I mean? And nobody has an explanation for it. It's causing chaos in the town, you know what I mean? And people are winding up dead in some scenarios. We haven't found that out yet, but we would imagine all the bodies that have shown up at this point. I don't know how long in the timeline this is, but I'm just imagining the police are aware of some of the stuff happening around the town at this point. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
he's got to be freaking the fuck out because nobody knows what's happening, you know, like, and so that's actually a pretty valid reaction. You shouldn't do that as a cop, but like him punching the guy and then fucking it up and basically losing the case, if you will, because he fucked it up and now has to lie about it. I mean, it's just kind of this perfect beginning part to his like unraveling that leads him where he's going in this movie. And like, there are very few people that deserve what happened to them in this movie, but boy, does fucking Paul not deserve what happens to him. He didn't even deserve to be dragged into this. He got pulled in by fucking happenstance, basically, you know, like, so it sucks for him, you know, like he was doing his job and not well, apparently, but he was doing his job.
Yeah, not too shabby, not well. So we get into James's chapters there, where James had James is our first glimpse of seeing Gladys too, and that was pretty wild. But you know, I thought this was worth mentioning here. So one of the stories from this movie that came out about it was pretty much they had to recast the entire thing after the strike 2 years ago because Pedro Pascal couldn't do the movie anymore, and Pedro Pascal was Josh Brolin's character. So the movie was almost gone when that happened, and some of the other cast members were all pretty much everyone else is recast except for Austin Abrams, who played James. He's the only one that didn't get recast from the major roles.
I guess for his particular character, it doesn't require like the craziest acting skills in the world.
And he's the only one that's on Resident Evil. So I just think
maybe he just was going to work with him anyway. Yeah, he's like, well, I'm going to work with him again, and I'll just keep him in this.
He knows. I mean, Austin, basically from Euphoria on, Austin's kind of making his way into everything, it feels like. So I'm
it's
not
probably
too
more
surprised.
like he just didn't want to take this away from him, even though it's not the biggest role in the world. You know, like the whole rest of the movie could be recast so that they could not have to worry about the schedules. Like his is probably not a schedule they have to necessarily. Not I'm trying not to be a dick to the guy, but he probably has a little less going on, right? You know what I mean? So
he's the only one he had his back with. I mean, that was it. So
that's true.
He brought him, you know. So I think that's
what Pedro would do with this. I don't want to be an asshole to Pedro. I really like what Josh did in this movie. I don't know if I would have wanted to see that version necessarily.
I
I'm
knew
sure he
that
did
going
great
in.
with it.
I knew that going into the movie. There was one scene specifically where I was like, "Oh, I could see Pedro absolutely crushing this."
I mean, he
The
can
other
definitely hit
actors,
the emotional stuff with the
oh my
kid.
god, yeah,
He
knowing
plays. I mean, he's the dad in fucking fiction right now. But like, you know, but I mean, I want to see Josh Brolin get more roles like that. So I'm totally okay with them fighting over shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Brian Tyree Henry was playing Benedict Wong, that he was that character, and then an actress we just talked about fucking yesterday, Renette Renziv, the one in Sentimental Value. Again, Rains. I think it's got to be Rains from Sentimental Value. She was Julia Garner's character. So, whoa.
I mean, here's the thing. That
What
movie
would that
sounds
have
so
looked like?
vibally differently. I don't know if that's the phrase, but it sounds like it vibes so differently that it probably would just be a completely different movie. You know, like
At the same time, though,
yeah.
Tell me you can't picture Brian Tyree Henry as that principal.
I could picture
that
all of
makes
those people
so
as all
much
the
sense.
characters. It's just that I would have to see that version of it to know what it looks like, because I do think they would have leaned. I think with every movie that you make, the actors that you have in it absolutely informs what you end up making in the end. So, like, because if you're a good writer, you write a character that you think, then you apply the act. You would cast the actor, but then you look at what you've written, and you then get to the set on the day, and you can decide. Unless you're just like super strict with your scripting, which some people are because they know it's right? But no, some genuinely are. Some people are literally right, and they know they're right. And if they do it Quentin Tarantino is a perfect example. You do what Quentin Tarantino says because it's going to be correct. And it's not like he's not collaborative. He'll be collaborative as fuck, I bet, on the day.
We just gonna see Justin Long pop up in all this guy's movies?
Dude, he's one of my favorite dudes that's been in like every horror movie and every movie ever.
I know you got a chuckle on your face when you saw him.
He was in everything, dude. Come on, accept it. Come on, bro. That guy's the GOAT. Anyway, I
was like, let's go.
Ask me about my cameo, but no, anyway, but fuck, dude. Anyway,
because when he walks on screen of Barbarian, it's a different movie. It's like, wait,
it's straight up what? Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I was like, oh no, where are we going with him again?
Never
as a married man, he's got his life together.
Oh, he does. No, but fuck, man. This movie is so fun to talk about because there's so many different layers to it.
Well, let's talk about sure. Alex's chapter.
The best chapter in the movie, if you ask me.
It is very good. It's very good. I think Justine's the best chapter right now. I'd have to really think about that. But
it just ties it all together so brilliantly, and you see the intersections with the other chapters, and it makes all the little details that you didn't understand before suddenly make so much more sense. Like,
So one of the things that I keep seeing people talk about.
Oh, it's definitely the most unsettling of all of them, by the way, because it's happening to a kid, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's pretty nuts. I mean, it's a fucking insane chapter, straight up. So, but knowing that the kids are there and kind of how Gladys introduces herself to the family, and I mean, the parents look like they're in fucking hell, man. That chapter, when we get to because this is the third act, I guess, right? Straight up. So when this chapter starts, the movie's on the fucking tipping point here. So yeah, I really like this chapter. Just to get it all explained to us in a way that was satisfying. But this is also the chapter where a lot of people are running into trouble, which you can imagine. That's how it's going to be. When you start getting into supernatural, it's not going to work for everyone. It straight up won't. But one of the talks that I keep seeing, even people that love the movie like us, they talk a little bit about kind of inconsistencies within the universe that is happening in this chapter specifically. Just to give you an example, just when it comes to inconsistencies, how is no one clocking this kid buying all the soup or him buying all the groceries, right? That's the kind of thing that when you think about it, it's like someone would point that out. So it's like, okay, that's fair, I guess. I thought it was a cute little cutaway of him, feeding his classmates, even though they picked on him.
Okay, so here's what I would say about that. I would need to know the exact timeline of when Gladys shows up compared to the rest of the movie. Because I'll tell you this, every other sequence, it absolutely takes place.
Those kids are in there for at least a month.
That's what
that is explained to us. Yes. Josh Brolin, by the time that interview happens, it's been a month when they're interviewing Justine. At that when she's on the stage, answering questions. So that's been going on for a month.
So a month he's been buying them.
He's been doing all the grocery shopping.
How long into that month?
Mm-hmm.
It has to be a month has passed.
But this is what's sparking some good talks because
so here's what I'll say about that. we have seen no indication that after she first takes over the parents, that Gladys was not capable of going out into the world regularly, because she does. Not all the time, but she does seem to be willing to make it out there, and is somehow able to conjure enough energy to do so. So I'm willing to bet, and I know this is going to sound like such a fucking cop-out stretch to everybody, that at some point she goes with him. There's just no way that she could not. Like, are we to believe the only times that we see her are the only times she left the house the entire time? Like,
I believe they made it clear when she took the dad after he had a, quote, stroke to the school, that was her first time being seen with Alex. I believe that they made it a point to explain the way they did, that was her first time leaving. So, and the way the montage is set up, I think we're meant to believe that, yes, Alex kind of has been walking home from school every day. They show him multiple times walking home from school. And then the feeding of the soup, you know, we see him at the grocery store, I believe, at least 3 times. To me, personally, does it affect the story? Not to me, but I think it's fair to talk about because, you know,
I mean, there's also a lot going on. I mean, it's kind of
well,
the
we
most
know these
believable
police
thing
clearly
ever.
suck.
Everybody's focused on the fucking fact that all these kids are missing, and yeah, like the least
These
believable
police
part.
suck.
You know what the least believable part is? It's not that they don't notice the kid buying the soup. It's that they don't notice Gladys at all, because like they should notice that this kid's not being taken care of. Like, he's the one kid that didn't get taken. They would absolutely be surrounding this kid with like a fucking, like, because you would think the kid was going to get targeted also, you know, like,
yeah.
That's the only part that's like, okay, the cops just decided that we sleep. We don't care. This kid can die. You know, like, yeah, that's the only part that I would be like, if people wanted to have that issue with it, fine. But like, to be honest with you, it's a fucking horror movie. I don't care. Like, go ask the cops in fucking not Resident Evil, in Nightmare on Elm Street what they think of what's going on. You know, like.
Oh, exactly. And that's where I think you kind of get into. So, yeah, I think the ending of it being the kids ripping her to shreds the way they did, fucking brilliant.
That's why I'm so sure about that one shit that I brought up, by the way.
I like that so much more than Justine and Archer being the ones doing it. Because I thought that's kind of where we were going to go. They never even go face to face with her, dude. That's kind of brilliant.
They never even see who she is, as far as I can tell.
And when Archer sees her at the end, he's not really seeing her. Oh my God, Mark is getting fucking hit by the car. I heard people go, oh shit.
Honestly, my brain has been too trained by horror movies. When we're outside in like open fucking intersections like that for too long like that, someone's getting hit, bro. That's horror movie rules. I'm sorry, I don't make them.
When it tees it up,
not that it didn't still make me go, oh fuck, you know, when we saw especially what happened to him, you know, but like it was still shocking. It was just like, oh, okay.
Look, we cover wrestling. Predictability is sometimes the best case scenario. So
no, in horror, it's actually a good thing. It's called building anticipation. You know, like sometimes you want to drag out the scariness of something because he's running around like a fucking crazy person for like 20 minutes or whatever the fuck it is. So at some point, it's likely that he's going to get hit. They literally show you long shots of him running in front of cars, in front of fucking people that see him bleeding all over the place. You know, like it's meant to build that sort of that tension that you think something's going to happen and it pays off. And when it does, it's fucking brutal.
I love a good witch story.
No, I mean, I said when I saw The Witch, God, I wish people did more stories like this. Then I saw Hereditary, and you can say that that's a cult story, but there's definitely some witchery afoot in that fucking story, you know?
Oh yeah,
it's some cult like witchery, you know? This you know, we had I won't say what we had in Together, but you know, it's like people are taking that sort of like there being like the idea of a curse or a spell isn't dead in horror. And I think that's a good thing because you can actually do some really crazy stuff with that if you lean into some of the like actual mythology that exists out there and stuff and like play with it and tweak it to make it a little bit more.
Well, that's why I'm already loving what this guy is attaching his name to when it comes to the concepts of horror. Because he knows getting people in that theater, right? With Barbarian, you set the concept of all the advertisements were basically just Bill Skarsgård and Tess sharing, what happens when you book the same Airbnb in a shitty night, and then, they give glimpses of shit going down, right? They never allude to what happened.
What is it, like 40 minutes of that movie? Probably like 30 is probably what it is. You think that's a movie about him going to kill her straight up, like, or one way or the other? One of them is going to kill the other. They lead you into that.
They want you to think, because just looking at him, he looks like he'd be a villain. The guy's got such a fucking great look. They want you to believe there's no way this can be a good guy. And they get you a couple times. So, and then with Companion, how he attached his name to Companion as well. They set up the premise of what happens when the sex bots turn on you. It's that simple. Like, what do you... So, yeah.
In a world where we jailbreak our fucking Fire Sticks to get free movies, what happens when you jailbreak this? You know what I mean?
And that's just 3 examples of what he's attaching his name to. So it's just like, he knows about the concepts of horror, these high concepts, these fun concepts that get you in the room. And then weapons, all the advertising has been 2:17 a.m. The kids disappear. How? Why? Where? What?
And I'm not trying to be an asshole. It's that time, and it's such an insignificant part of the whole movie. It ties it all together, but it's literally so unimportant to what is actually overall happening. It happens, and then it's there. Let
me toss this at you. Do you think this should have been named 2:17 a.m. or something like that?
Yeah, it would be even more difficult probably to get people in. No, I think the name Weapons
is that a better name than Weapons almost?
No, Weapons is perfectly explained. They weaponized the fucking children. That's what she was doing. I still to this is my biggest gripe with the movie. I'm not even like those other people. I don't fucking understand what Gladys was trying to do. The only thing that she accomplishes by the end is making a bunch of child soldiers. What she's going to do with them, I have no idea. She makes no fucking indication about what that is.
I think it can be as simple as she's a witch.
She's going to suck the life power out of them, but
that's
she doesn't
exactly
do
what
that.
It is.
What? But she doesn't do that. So what the fuck?
Well, that's where the inconsistencies come in. She explains to us real quick, like it's very brief. She needs them to be healthy. Do we see her after that? I mean, she looks really good when she sees Marcus, so I think it worked, right? Is she just draining their life from them? Look, it's a witch that's preying off like these children.
Me, she should be trying to, because in my head, and especially in the movie The Witch, that's what she does, right? She not to spoil The Witch, but she uses the blood of a child to make a spell so she can fly, right? You know what I mean? So, which is deeply tied into witch lore. I'm not saying that she needed to, bathe in child blood and fly. I'm saying she should have used the power of these children, the youthful energy of these children that she was siphoning to become more powerful. And yet she just kind of gets what she has happened to her at the end of this movie, which I'll just leave for you guys to see because I want you to actually see that. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, we talk about horror movie endings. Maybe we've just identified another one where we're just gonna have to just be like, fine. But
I think it's a satisfying ending.
It's satisfying, but I'm like, what the fuck was she trying to do? I still don't understand.
Well, that's why, even though everyone's liking the movie, it's fun to have this. That's why I think it's healthy to have a conversation about the inconsistencies. And it's really only the Alex chapter. I don't see anyone talking about anything else, at all. So I'm assuming everyone just loved those chapters as much as we did. But I mean, and like you said, Alex, his chapter was fucking great.
Like a Gladys chapter?
No, because you already explained so much. He explained on top of explaining how they're getting to this situation. If you do a Gladys chapter, I mean, you're just really you're quadrupling down what you're trying to. Because it was abundantly clear that this was, some type of witchcraft. I saw a little meme here on Letterboxd. Someone put weapons ranked. So they ranked the weapons. 10, assault rifle in the sky. 9, Josh Brolin's foot.
That was a pretty good one.
8, liquor bottle.
It was used as a weapon. That was going to be a Molotov cocktail on our girl.
Yep. 7, gun. Fair enough.
It does get a double tap.
Yep. 6, fork. Fork got some good love.
The fork was useful. I do think if they'd used that fork, that should have been Chekhov's fork. They should have had somebody using the fork later on.
Did he have to withhold himself from having to poke him in the eye? You knew this fucker wanted an eye poke.
So for one, a lot of people out there hate eye violence. Shout out Chris Carr, you know.
You can't be. Look at Superman. Yeah, you can't. You got to appreciate a good eye poke.
Look, here's the thing. I'm here for it. This movie has already got a lot of gore going on.
I think
maybe they didn't think
back.
It was necessary, and we also have the little fork pokes in the face for the rest of the movie. So I don't know, you know.
Yeah, nice touch. Oh, speaking of getting stabbed, fucking number 3, handful of syringes.
Oh, he gets the fucking dude. Why is he always getting the worst fucking? Everything he's in, he's always getting the grossest fucking shit, bro. What the hell?
Do you have AIDS? Do you have hepatitis? I don't know, man.
As far as I know, man.
It's like, oh man. 5 scissors.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Well, are they used as a weapon?
I mean, you're losing your hair. 4 SUV.
True. Yeah, it does. Instant kill. Yeah.
Yep. I hit number 3 already. Number 2, vegetable peeler.
Oh. Yeah, this movie gets nasty with it.
Yeah. And then number 1, 17 school children, because, you know, my God.
They are the most effective weapon. 100%.
They were the most effective. They shut that bitch down. I thought that was funny.
Maybe there's a little bit of a child soldiery stuff. I mean, obviously there's some child soldiery stuff in there, but you know, but like, and you know what? I'll say this. I'll take that. Putting them in their pajamas makes it way different. Because, like, you know, when you think of a child soldier, you think of some kid in, like, the Middle East, right? Or some kid in Germany in World War II that got, you know, impressed into the army, you know? And they're barely in uniform, you know? Like, or barely in whatever the equivalent of, I don't know what holy Muslim warriors wear nowadays, you know what I mean? But, like, whatever that actual traditional outfit is that they wear, that's a military outfit or whatever, you know? You imagine that, but when you put them in, like, Hello Kitty pajamas. I don't think there was Hello Kitty pajamas, but that was the vibe. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very different image. You know what I mean? As opposed to, or you know, the African warlords that impress kids or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you think of those images because that's what gets blasted on the news. When you put him like a bunch of kids from an American neighborhood, you know, like that are just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Yeah. It recontextual. It's one of those ways that horror. I talk about ways horror can be brilliant and can really say things without actually directly saying them. This is one of those things, you know, like where you can, by showing that image in a horrific manner, in a way that makes your brain go, oh, so this is what happens when you know. So like, I don't know. It's something cool. I just realized, you know,
something. Speaking of image, something I really liked in this movie. How much of it's shot at night, and it looks really
shot at night, but the shots aren't like so dark that I can't fucking see anything.
Exactly, brilliant lighting. And you're gonna have people that try and watch this at home and be like, "I can't see anything." Yeah, that's why I see it in the theater, bitch. No, but yeah. So that's good shit there. God, there was something else I just thought about when we were just talking. Maybe it'll come back to me. Something that these kind of horror movies, just / really any movie nowadays, that really gets pulled into the pop culture zeitgeist is when you have these characters, and they got to have a look. Is it safe to say? I don't think we're going to see Gladys go away anytime soon. I think we're going to see memes of Gladys in 2 years. Like, because look, Longlegs came out in 2022. I still see Nicolas Cage all the time, pretty frequently. And when you can create a character like that in these horror movies, look, we're gonna see Art the Clown for the rest of our lives, right? You just will. Art the Clown hit the next level, though. I mean, he hit the fucking that next fucking tier, if you will. So I think Gladys is really neat. What a great character. I am glad Gladys. Huh.
Galinda.
Yeah. Outside of my little rant at the beginning of fucking assholes posting pictures of her on Thursday.
I've heard some complaining about the middle section. You talked about the characters. Like, we often bitch about characters in horror movies because a lot of times horror movies are shorter and, like, we don't always get the full amount of time to... It's one of the great things about Together because it's about 2 people. Well, I guess there's a third character.
It's a big cast.
Yeah. This is a big cast, but because it's written in those sections, everybody gets the full development of their character. And, like, I heard one particular reviewer talking about how... I only listened to one review, but shout out Perry Nemiroff. But I listened to one review, and the guy was saying, like, the middle section is a little bit, like, boring, is kind of the vibe that I got from him.
Oh, come on.
And I was like, okay,
It's always
But,
boring
like,
when it's fucking smart.
Here's what I hate, because I guarantee in a different review I could find him saying, "I wish we had gotten to dig into these characters a little bit more about some other movie."
Yeah.
I can almost guarantee it. Now, maybe he's not that kind of person that doesn't watch movies that way. Maybe when he watches movies, he doesn't actually care about that. He'd rather go for an hour and a half and everything's great, and maybe not every character thread got wrapped up properly, but at least the movie is solid and there's not like extra fluff or whatever. Some people are super fucking particular about, they don't want anything extra bullshit in their movies, like, and that's fine. If you want to be super I'm trying to think of the right word here, but if you just want to be like, if you just want every movie to be like fucking, like, I don't know, your Oscar winner every year, it's never going to happen. It's something that can happen to you when you start like obsessing over the Oscars and stuff like that, and the greatest films of all time. It's like, yeah, you can want every film to be that. They're not going to be, though. You get one or two of those a year if you're lucky, so and amazingly, this might be one of them. But but if you complain about that middle section being a little bit boring, I would say just rewatch it, because I think with the context that you have now from the rest of the movie, it's not as boring anymore. And even if it was boring, actually, like if it just wasn't that interesting, like if I reanalyzed it and it wasn't as interesting as I thought it was in the moment, I don't think that changes anything about the movie. I do think sometimes you need to take the time in the movie to actually let characters develop, and actually, maybe to some people that's a waste of time in a 2-hour movie, but like to me, it's not, because what else are we going there for but to enjoy the experience? And actually, like, why would I care what's happening at the last sequence of the movie if I don't care about these characters because I haven't grown with them at all? Like, I don't know. It's like, people go through shit in this movie and they don't actually ever recover from it. They kind of just decide to do something about what's, like it's one. Yeah, I don't know.
I believe Josh Brolin on this press tour talked about how, to him, this movie dives into the stages of grief. And that's kind of what this movie could be seen as, what it's about, is characters are in different stages of grief. So, and to him, that enticed him as an actor. I believe that's some stuff along the lines. He's been saying stuff like that on the press tour. So, which again tied into our kind of thoughts on what the movie could be before we saw it. So, yeah, I mean, I think you have that element of it that is just, it's pretty brilliant. So, yeah, look, guys, this movie's great. I absolutely adored this movie. I can't wait. I just like Barbarian. I can't wait to see it again. I mean, straight up, I think that's one of the biggest things of Zach's movies, is he pulls you in for more. The fact that his catalog, I mean, I know he's got some movies that came out like 2011, shit like that, but his two movies, since he's really got the funding, if you will, to actually make these, Barbarian and Weapons, I mean, these are fucking home runs. And I am so happy with this. I have a very strong feeling this will be in our top 10s at the end of the year. If actually, it's not,
let me take a look at this really quickly.
We had an absurd end of the year. So yeah. I am very happy with this movie. I absolutely fucking loved it. Even the iconic images already of the kids running, like, there is so much from this movie that is going to be memorable just when we see little glimpses of it and shit like that. I can't wait to see where it takes us, honestly. So, I wanted to touch on the box office. We had some pretty good stuff from the box office here for this weekend. I believe it was on, was it the Freakier Friday review? I believe I brought this up, that this weekend was it was poised to kind of be a big weekend, because we're going to drastically different audiences, but at the same time, both movies are getting rave reviews. So what is it going to look like? Well, they both did fucking great. Weapons opens up with $42.5 million. And keep in mind, this was on a $38 million budget, and it's already $70 million worldwide. Weapons is going to be green fast. And then Freakier Friday.
All right, off the top of my head, it needs to make like what, $300-400 million to make a decent profit or something like that off rip before and like, right? That sounds about right,
no,
right?
$38 million budget. It's basically almost there. I mean, it's
Right,
just
but
gonna
you
hit like
assume
100.
marketing is like you double everything, you know what I mean? Plus, like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, so it's almost there. It'll be green by next weekend.
because like 250, they probably are making a profit, but you probably want to make like $200 million profit as opposed to like a few million, like.
Hey, and then Freaky Friday hit 29 million, so really good box office weekend. And Fantastic Four did 15 and a half. So Fantastic Four is I believe now people are confident that it is going to pass Captain America. For some reason, last week on like Friday, there was like so many articles of people freaking out about Fantastic Four.
I mean, it came in way under expected for its drop. Like, it was like the lowest drop ever for an MCU movie.
But by the end, not at all. But by Monday, it was all fine. So I don't know.
That's what they were saying, was that it was the like 80% was the highest drop.
Yeah, people were freaking out. It's Marvel, so anything that Marvel does that's not
I'm not freaking out. I'm just saying, if the 80% is the highest, it's the highest. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, that was the big thing: is it going to not pass Captain America? But it now looking like this with a strong weekend here that it just had, it probably will. So that's a good sign for that movie.
The 15 doesn't surprise me because I was sitting here thinking, well, there's probably there's 4 fucking movies out right now that people probably would want to see. Superman is still showing. There's probably people still seeing Superman that are also going to see Fantastic Four. It's just like not everyone's rich that can go out. Not that we're rich, but like we just don't spend money on stuff besides movies, So, like I was fully expecting it to not just die out like that. If it just dropped 80% and then just died, that would have been the craziest thing of all time. Like people assuming that was going to happen were off their fucking rockers.
Correct. Yeah, I mean there were people losing their shit about Fantastic Four. So, but that all evened out. But look, I believe now Freaky Friday I think had a slightly bigger budget, 38 million. So it had 42 million. So. Yeah, they'll both end up. What a great weekend. We have great movies out this weekend. I believe next weekend is our first time we're getting a fucking break from banger movies. I mean, the summer has literally. I mean, to a lot of people, it was Jurassic World where it kind of started going off. We both skipped that one. For us, it was Superman. When Superman on, it's been fucking nuts at the box office. So, but yeah, guys, it's been a hell of a weekend. We went over an hour on this review. Fuck yeah. But yeah, next movie for us will probably be since it's available on digital, we'll probably check out Sorry Baby, do a review on that, and then Caught Stealing in theaters at the end of the month. So I believe, those are all that's left. Yeah, Nobody 2 next weekend. Not seeing that. And then what? Roof Man in October and Running Man in fucking November. I mean,
bro, I saw the fucking poster. I did not realize Hail Mary was like March of next year.
Yeah. They're picking up the marketing to that fast. Any trailers you got here that were new? I got the Honey Don't trailer.
Let me see. I mean, I don't know if they were new. I'll just say what they were. I don't think I had like a lot to say about any of them. I saw another trailer for Twisted Metal. I still don't really have a really desire to see that show, but I'm sure we'll watch it eventually because Anthony Mackie, Samoa Joe. Caught Stealing, give it to me now. Black Phone 2 always looks really decent, and I'm like, but I've not seen Black Phone 1. I saw One Battle After Another, and I think I saw some new stuff, maybe some new dialogue. I mean, I'm still going to see that movie, Is that next year as well, or is that the end of this year?
That's this year.
Okay, yeah, we're definitely seeing that. One Battle After Another. Vision, and fucking so many great actors in that movie. And The Conjuring: Last Rites. I might see that with my sister and my mom, honestly, because they've seen all those Conjuring movies. But I just want to see how they wrap up the Ed and Lorraine Warren saga of films.
Yeah.
Because is James Wan even still involved? I don't even know. Like.
Right, I couldn't tell you.
Because
no idea.
I haven't heard of him being involved in shit in years, so who knows? Like.
Yeah.
What was the last thing he did? It was something we liked, right?
Yeah, it was one of those horror movies a couple of years ago. Let's see, filmography. What did you do? What have you done for us lately? He did Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom was his last one, and then the one before that was
I knew it was comic booky. I never saw Aquaman 2, but I liked Aquaman 1.
He's a producer on a lot of this shit coming out. This year, he's the producer and he did the story for Conjuring Last Rite, and he did
Okay.
he was a producer for Mortal Kombat.
Now
2.
I'm more excited to see that movie because every one of his movies in that universe that I've seen, I've liked. So
Yeah. I got the trailer for Honey Don't. I know why the critic score is so bad for that. Holy shit, that didn't look any good. Unfortunately. I missed most of my trailers, though. I think I saw that, and I saw One Battle After Another. That was it.
I also keep getting this Downton Abbey ad that I could care. That ad could like literally the advertisement could like be in the middle and turn into a horror movie, and I would still not care.
Yeah, don't see myself ever getting into that. But hey, each their own, right?
I mean, I might watch it one day, but I've never watched it. It's like I think it's like a bajillion season TV show that's capping off with a movie, I believe, and I'm sure they've done other movies in the past. I'm sure.
Mhm.
I know that the chick that played Professor McGonagall in Harry Potter was in the show. I want to say.
Okay, well that's pretty cool.
Maggie Smith, I think is her name.
Oh yeah, she's brilliant. Yeah, guys, I think that's it for us. So. Upcoming this week, we have a lot of our fun stuff coming out that we've been that we worked on earlier in the month / some of them even last month. Some of the shit we got coming out this week. So just to give you a quick rundown, we got today being Monday. Got Weapons. We got 11th Metal coming out tomorrow. Dukes did a solo Squid Game Season 3 review on Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, we got some fan casting this week. Justice League, the DCU Justice League, and the MCU X-Men on Thursday and Friday. And then coming at you next weekend, we got a couple more fun things that we'll do. We have our X-Men 97 review coming out. We'll do kind of a breakdown and talk about the summer box office, the blockbusters. We'll have more of an idea of what Weapons did next weekend, too. And then our MCU movie rankings featuring Fantastic Four. So,
what's crazy about that one is we haven't done that yet, but we have it locked already. We already locked those in like 2 weeks ago or something.
Yep, locked them in. So, yeah, and then we're starting to get into some of the stuff that's releasing concurrently, like Caught Stealing, like Peacemaker. We're gonna have 2 episodes out this month. We'll get to Sorry Baby. We got some other fun stuff that we got a little plan to do. So, yes, thank you so much for checking out Weapons. If you enjoyed our review of it, please stick around. I mean, hit the follow button on whatever platform you're on. Hit the, fucking give us a like. I don't know. If you're on, if you're on Spotify, you can directly write in here. And on our next movie review, we will get to the comment that is in here. So, yeah. Other than that, Duke, this has been a pretty fun month. This is one of the big ones we were looking forward to. I don't know. How you feeling? Take us home.
I gotta tell you, like a week, and this is gonna blow your mind. A week out from this month, I had no idea there was gonna be 3 movies we had to go out and see in a row, and at like weeks in a row. And like I fucking had I known that, I would have tried to plan a little bit better my own schedule, but like it ended up working out perfectly. Like I've been not busy at all lately. It's been the weirdest fucking thing. Maybe I'm about to get fired from my job. Who knows? But
you already know they're about to fucking put you into full gear when these winter months start hitting in.
This is true, although I don't know if it's gonna go like that. It's been different it was like that, if you remember, all the way through last year up until that point. And so it wasn't that surprising when it went that way toward the end of the year because of all the Christmas stuff. But like they didn't do that many Christmas events overall, now that I think back. So I think it, and I also think they're also just critically understaffed right now.
It could be.
So I don't know. But it probably will kick back into gear, I'm sure. But when that happens, I'm just gonna have to lock the fuck in, as they say, So lock in.
Hell yeah.
Make sure you put the sock in. You know how it is.
Yeah, here we go. And thank you, everybody. And we will catch you on the flip side. We might bring Gladys with us this time. Hello.
Witchy woman.